Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. So today we'll be discussing the mock test and we'll be also discussing some practice questions. Okay, so let's begin with the first question. The first question is, if a population has a birth rate of 0.05 per capita and a death rate of 0.02 per capita, what is the intrinsic rate of natural increase, which is R? So you have these following options, okay, 0.03, 0.07, 0.10 and 0.50. What will be the correct answer? Okay, so here you can use the formula for the intrinsic rate of natural increase, which is B minus D. So R is equal to B minus D. Clear? So B is the birth rate, D is the death rate. Clear? So B is given to you 0.05. You can reduce it with the death rate, which is 0.02. So 0.05 minus 0.02 will be 0.03, and this is the correct answer. So option number A is the correct answer here. Next question, in the context of predation, which of the following statement is incorrect? Okay, so option number 1 is predation help maintain species diversity by reducing competition among prey species. Next one, herbivores are not considered predators in an ecological context. Option number C, over-efficient predators may lead to their own extinction due to prey depletion. And option number D, biological control methods rely on predators to regulate pest population. What is the correct answer? Here option number B is the correct answer here. Actually, herbivores, they are considered predators in ecological context. Herbivores, they are feeding on the plants. So this is known as herbivory. So basically herbivores, they are predators, okay, as they are feeding on the plants. Next question, in a fig wasp mutualism, what does the fig provide to the wasp? So option A, shelter from the predators. Option number B, nectar as the food reward. Option number C, developing seed for larval nourishment. Or option number D, protection from competitors. What is the correct answer? Okay, option number C will be the correct answer here. Developing seeds for larval mechanism or larval nourishment. Okay. So these larvae, they feed on fig seeds. They gain nourishment from fig seeds. Okay, so this fig wasp, this is an example of mutualism. Both the partners are getting benefited here. Okay, now fig provides a place for the wasp to lay the eggs. Okay, and fig is providing the seeds for larval nourishment. Next one, which of the following is an example of brood parasitism? Okay, so options are mosquito feeding on human blood, a cuckoo laying eggs in a crow nest. Next one, a tapeworm living in the human intestine. And option number D, an orchid growing on a mango tree. What is the correct answer? Here, option number B is the correct answer here. So, the cuckoo bird, it lays egg in the crow's nest. Okay. Now, the crow, which is the host, this is not able to differentiate between the eggs because the egg, they look very similar in shape as well as size. Okay, so this is known as brood parasitism. Here, this cuckoo bird doesn't make its own nest. It is laying eggs in crow's nest. And crow is doing all the work here. Next one, the competitive exclusion principle states that so options are two unrelated species can never compete for the same resources. Option number C, B is two competing species will always coexist indefinitely. Option number C, two closely related species competing for the same limiting resource cannot coexist indefinitely. Option number D, competition only occurs when resources are abundant. Now, what is the correct answer? Okay, here option number C will be the correct answer here. So this principle states that two closely related species which are competing for the same limiting resources such as food and space, they cannot coexist indefinitely. The competitively superior species that will outcompete the inferior species. Next question, which of the following life history trait is most likely to evolve in a unstable, unpredictable environment? So the options are large offering size with high potential investment. Option number B, low productive rate with long gestation period. Option number C, high numbers of small size offerings with minimum parental care. And option number D, delayed reproduction until late in life. What is the correct answer? The option number C will be the correct answer here. High number of small size offerings with minimum parental care. Clear? So this is a life history trait that is most likely to evolve in an unstable, unpredictable environment. Clear? High number of small size offerings ensures that some of the offerings will survive. Next one, the evolution of life history trait is primarily influenced by. So options are only abiotic factors like temperature and rainfall. Option B, only abiotic factors like competition and predation. Option number C, both abiotic and biotic constraints of the habitat. Option number D, random genetic mutations with no environmental influence. What will be the correct answer? The option number C is the correct answer here. Both abiotic and biotic constraint of the habitat. This is the correct answer. Okay, abiotic means the non-living components, biotic means the living components. Next one, which of the following interaction is correctly matched with this description? Option number A, commensalism, one species benefit while the other is unaffected. The next one is commensalism, both species are harmed by the interaction. Option number C, mutualism, both species derive benefit from the interaction. And option number D, competition, one species benefit while the other is harmed. So what will be the correct answer here? The option number C is the correct answer here. In mutualism, both the interacting partners, they are benefited. Okay, example is that of lichens, mycorrhiza. Okay, where both the interacting partners, they are getting benefited. Okay, in lichens, this is an association between algae and the fungus. And in mycorrhiza, it is association of the fungus with the roots of the plant. Next question, which statement about case-selected species is correct? So the options are they typically produce many small offerings with low survival rate. And then option number B, they thrive in rapidly changing environment. Option number C, they exhibit high parental care and fewer large offerings. And option number D. They prioritize early reproduction over longevity. What is the correct answer? Okay, option number C is the correct answer. A case selected species, they exhibit high parental care and fewer larger offerings. Next one, which of the following best defines Darwinian fitness in the context of life history variation? So the options are the physical strength of an organism to survive in harsh condition. Option number C, the ability of organism to produce offerings that survive and reproduce. Option number C, the lifespan of an organism relative to others in its population. Option number D, the number of times an organism breeds during its lifetime. Here, option number B is the correct answer here. The ability of organism to produce offerings that survive and reproduce. So the species or the organism, okay, which can adapt to the change in the environment, that organism or that species is selected by nature. Okay, or those traits which give survival advantage, these traits are selected. Okay, they are passed on to the next generation. And the species or the organism which is selected by the nature, this will then reproduce, this will produce more offerings. Okay, so it is reproductively fitter than the other organism and it will leave more number of the progenies. The next question, which of the following is the correct example of mutualism? So the options are orchid growing on a mango tree, next is cuscuta growing on a hedge plant, option number C, a fig tree and its pollinator wasp, and option number D is barnacles on the back of a whale. What is the correct answer? Okay, option number C is the correct answer. A fig tree and the pollinator wasp. This is the correct answer. So this is the mutualistic relationship. The tree and the wasp both are benefited with this interaction. Okay, now the fig tree, it provides seeds for the larval nourishment, and the wasp, it is pollinating the fig tree. Okay, wasp is also laying eggs in the fig. Okay, in the fig fruit as well. Next one, Pacific salmon, fish, and bamboo are example of organisms that exhibit. Okay, so first option is etiopary, means multiple reproductive events. Next is semelparity, which is single reproductive event. Option number C is case selection, which is few large offering. And option number D is high parental care after reproduction. What is the correct answer? Option number B is the correct answer, is semelparity. Okay, so salmon, fish, and bamboo, they are example of semelparity, means they reproduce only once and then they die. Okay, and whenever they reproduce, they produce large number of offerings. Next question, which of the following scenarios would most likely lead to exponential growth in a population? So option are a population of deer in a forest with limited food and space. Option number B, a bacterial culture in a petri dish with abundant nutrients. Option number C, a human population in a country with strict birth control policies. And option number D, a bird population in an area with high predation pressure. What is the correct answer? Okay, so option number B is the correct answer here. A bacterial culture in a petri dish with abundant nutrients. This is the correct answer. This will show a rapid increase in the population size. Okay, here the bacteria, it can reproduce very fast. Okay, it can undergo binary fission. So from one parental cell, two daughter cells are formed, and again the nutrients are abundant. Okay, resources are, you can say, unlimited. Clear? So it will follow an exponential growth pattern until the resources become limited. Next one, in the logistic growth model, the term K minus N by K represents. So the options are the fraction of resources available for population growth. Option number B, mortality rate of the population. Option number C, the immigration rate of the population. Option number D, intrinsic rate of natural increase. What is the correct answer? Here, option number A is the correct answer here. So, in logistic growth model, the term K minus N by K, this represents the fraction of the resources available for population growth. Okay, here K is the carrying capacity. Okay, what is carrying capacity? The maximum number of, you can say, population of a species that an habitat can sustain. Next one, a population of 4 beetles has an intrinsic rate of natural increase, means R is equal to 0.12. If the initial population density N naught is 500, what will be the population density after 10 days, assuming exponential growth? Okay, so you can use the formula Nt is equal to N naught ERT, and after putting in the values, okay, what answer you will get? You will get the answer option number B. Okay, clear? Here N naught is given to you 500, then R is also given to you. Okay, now they are saying what will be the population density after 10 days. Clear? Now next one, the carrying capacity of a habitat is best defined as. So the first option is a maximum population size that can be supported indefinitely. Option number B, a rate of which a population grows when resources are unlimited. Option number C, a number of immigrants entering the habitat per unit time. Option number D, the difference between birth and death rates in a population. What is the correct answer? Here, option number A is the correct answer. The maximum population size that can be supported indefinitely. Okay, this is the carrying capacity, which is represented by the letter K. The rest of the options are incorrect. Clear? Now, what does the intrinsic rate of natural increase represents in a population ecology? So, the first option, the difference between birth rate and the death rate. Next is the carrying capacity of the environment. Option number C, the ratio of immigrants to e-migrants. And option number D, age distribution of the population. What is the correct answer? Okay, option number E is the correct answer here. So R is equal to B minus D means the intrinsic rate of natural increase is equal to the birth rate minus the death rate. Okay, if in the question birth rate and death rate are given to you, you can calculate the R. Now moving on to the next question. Now, which defense mechanism is used by plants against the herbivores? Okay. Option B is cryptic coloration. Option B, production of cardiac glycoside. Option number C, mimicry. Option number D is brood parasitism. What is the correct answer? Okay, option number B is the correct answer here, production of the cardiac glycosides. Okay, so plants such as calotropes, they produce these chemicals as a defense mechanism. So this makes the plant unpalatable, this makes the plants bitter, and the herbivores, they generally avoid these plants. Okay, so this is a chemical defense mechanism which prevents herbivory. Next one, which interaction is characterized by one species benefiting while the other is unaffected? So options are mutualism, commensalism, amensalism, and parasitism. What is the correct answer? A, option B is the correct answer here. This type of interaction is commensalism, where one species is benefited while the other is unaffected. So a very common example is that of orchid, okay, and the mango tree. So orchid is an epiphyte on the mango tree, and orchid is using the mango tree as a support, okay, for growing up, so that it get access to the sunlight. Okay, whereas mango plant, this is unaffected. Next question, in a logistic growth model, when does the population reach its carrying capacity? So options are when k minus n is maximum. Option number B, when k minus n by k approaches 0. Option number C, when the death rate exceeds the birth rate. And option number D, when immigration equals emigration. What is the correct answer? Okay, the correct answer is option number B, when k minus n by k approaches 0. Okay, so if you can see, if n approaches k here, means if n is equal to k, then what will happen? This k minus n by k, this will be equal to 0. Okay, so this shows that the population is slowing down and it will stabilize at the carrying capacity. Okay, clear? So with this, we have discussed the mock test. Now let's discuss some practice questions. Okay, now let's discuss some practice questions related to the chapter Organism and Population. Okay. Okay, now let's discuss some practice questions related to chapter Organism and Population. This is the disclaimer. Okay, so we'll be discussing some basic concepts related to the chapter organism and population. Okay, so these questions, they are based on certain concepts. So we'll discuss these concepts by discussing these practice questions. Okay, so now let's begin with the first question. The first question is, what does the logistic growth model predict when n is equal to k? The options are maximum growth rate, zero growth rate, negative growth rate, or exponential growth. What is the correct answer? Let's have a look at the answer. See, option number B, zero growth rate, is the correct answer. Now, in logistic growth model, the growth rate is defined by the equation dn by dt is equal to Rn k minus n by k. Now, you can notice what happens when the population size n equals the carrying capacity k. Okay. Now, the part of the equation, say k minus n becomes 0. This shows the population is slowing down and it is stabilizing at the carrying capacity. So here the growth rate will drop to 0 at the carrying capacity. Clear? So here you can see this is the graph between the population density and time. Here you can see the B graph. This is for the logistic growth curve. This is the S-shaped curve or sigmoidal curve. You get the logistic growth when the resources are limited. So this is more realistic growth model. And the equation is also written here. So if n is equal to k, then k minus n by k will be 0, and this shows the population growth rate will drop. Okay, and it will decrease. It will ultimately reach 0. Okay, at the carrying capacity. Okay, so you can see when n is equal to k, the entire growth rate will be 0, means the population is not growing now. At this point, the birth rate is balanced by the death rate and the population size has stabilized at its maximum sustainable level. Okay, so this means for every new individual born, one dies. So the total population size stays steady. Okay, so this is the image showing you logistic growth curve. Okay, the B is the logistic growth curve and A is the exponential growth curve, which is achieved when the resources are unlimited. Next question, which interaction shows positive relationship? Okay, so options are competition, predation, mutualism, and commensalism. So these positive and negative signs can be assigned to the you can say these relationship. The positive means beneficial, negative means you can say the species is being harmed. Positive means the species is being benefited. So let's have a look at the answer. So option number C is mutualism. Okay, so here both the partners are benefited, both the interacting partners are benefited. In competition, both the species are harmed, so you get a negative signs for both the species. Okay, why the species are harmed? Because they are fighting for the same limited resources. Now predation, in predation the predator is getting benefited and the prey is at loss. Okay, yeah, so one species which is a predator benefits by feeding on the other which is the prey. That's why positive and a negative sign. In commensalism, you get a negative and a 0 sign, means one of the species is harmed, other species is unaffected. And okay, here this is the table showing you the type of interactions. Okay, so species are given to you and the positive and the negative signs are also shown. Here you can see mutualism, both the species are benefited. In competition, both the species are harmed. In predation, one of the species is which is the predator that is benefited, Again, in parasitism, the parasite is getting benefited and the host is negatively affected. In commensalism, one of the species is benefited and the other is unaffected. Okay. Then in amensalism, one of the species is harmed and the species is unaffected. Next question, in a population pyramid, which section typically has the widest base? So you have four options. For option number A is post-reproductive group. Option number B is pre-reproductive group. Option number C, reproductive group. Option number D, middle age group. What is the correct answer? Let's have a look at the answer. Option number B, pre-reproductive group is the correct answer. Now, the base of a population pyramid represents the pre-reproductive group. Okay, clear? So, in this pre-reproductive group, individuals aged 0 to 14 are included. Now, the wide base indicates a large proportion of young individuals, which is a characteristic of high birth rate. So, if you can say more number of individuals are there in the pre-reproductive phase of the individual, or if the individuals are younger, then they will enter into the reproductive phase and then they will produce more number of offerings. So this population will grow, it will expand. Now this shape is typical of expansive or rapidly growing populations, often seen in developing countries. In contrast, a narrow base would indicate low birth rate and a constrictive population. Okay, so if the base is narrow, it means fewer younger people are being born. Okay, there are fewer number of younger people. Okay, so this is a sign of low birth rate. Clear? And this population will shrink because less number of people are young, more number of people are of the older age, which has lost the reproductive ability. They have lost the, you can say, ability to reproduce. And in this image, you can see these are the age pyramids. Okay, in expanding population, you can see you get a typical pyramid. This is triangular shape. Okay, clear? Here you can see in the expanding population, more number of individuals are there in the pre-reproductive phase as compared to the post-reproductive phase. Next question, the process of immigration refers to. So options are birth of individual, death of individuals, entry of individuals into habitat, or exit of individual from habitat. What is the correct answer? So they are just simply asking you what is immigration. Let's have a look at the answers. Option number C is the correct answer here, entry of individuals into the habitat. Okay, let's understand what is immigration. So immigration is when individuals of the same species move into a new habitat from elsewhere, okay, during a certain period. So immigration actually increases the population density. So imagine a flock of birds flying into a new forest. Now those birds are immigrants to that habitat. Okay, so immigration can lead to population increase. It can enhance the population density. Okay, so it is a key factor that increase population size along with the births, which is the natality. So natality can also increase the population size. Okay, and along with natality, immigration can also increase the population size. Okay, this is an image showing you the four factors which affects the population density. So these four factors are natality, immigration, mortality, and immigration. Natality, immigration enhances the population density, and mortality and immigration will reduce the population density, or you can say population size. Okay, so let's talk about the e-migration now. So this is the opposite of immigration actually. Now, e-migration happens when individuals leave a habitat, just like people moving out of the city. So this will obviously decrease the population density. Okay, this will decrease the population size. Okay, now let's talk about the population dynamics. So population dynamics is like tracking the ups and downs of a city's population. It is influenced by immigration, e-migration, birth, and the deaths. Now, all of these factors, they work together to shape how a population grows or shrinks over time. Okay. Now, next question: which growth phase shows the maximum growth rate? Okay, so options are lag phase, log phase, stationary phase, and death phase. What will be the correct answer? So let's have a look at the answer. Option B, log phase, is the correct answer. Clear? Log phase, also known as the exponential phase, is when the population grows at its fastest possible rate. Okay, in the exponential phase, resources are plentiful. That's why the growth rate is also very high. So there is a rapid increase in the population in the exponential phase. Okay, now under ideal conditions with abundant resources, every individual in the population can reproduce at its maximum intrinsic rate, leading to exponential growth. Okay, here you can see this is the graph between population density and time. Here you can see the graph A. This is a J-shaped curve. You get this curve in the case of exponential growth when the resources are unlimited. Okay, clear? And option number B, you can see this is for the logistic growth curve. In the logistic growth curve, you will get the lag phase and then the log phase, and then the population will stabilize. Okay, here you get the S-shaped curve. In the lag phase, you can say the organism or the cells, they are adapting to the environment, and then you get the log phase where you get the exponential growth, and then the asymptote is reached, means the population will stabilize. Clear? Population will stabilize when it will attain its carrying capacity. Clear? So you get the lag phase, log phase, and the you can say the stationary phase in the logistic growth curve. Okay, which is S-shaped curve. This J-shaped curve, this is for the exponential growth. Okay, so this exponential phase, this is represented by a steep upward sloping curve on a graph of a population size over time. Now, the growth rate is highest during the phase because limiting factors have not yet become significant. So, here resources are still plentiful and the limiting factors have not yet become significant. Okay. Now, next question: what represents carrying capacity in the population ecology? Options are maximum birth rate, maximum death rate, maximum population size, sustainable environment, and option number D, minimum population size needed for survival. Now, what will be the correct answer? Option number C is the correct answer: maximum population size, sustainable in the environment. Okay, so what is carrying capacity? Carrying capacity is defined as the maximum population size of a species that an environment can sustainably support indefinitely. Okay, clear? Or basically, you can say the maximum population of a species that a habitat or that a ecosystem can sustain. Notice that carrying capacity is not a fixed number, it can change depending on how much food, water, or space is available. Okay, for example, if a drought reduces water in a pond, fewer fish can survive. So their carrying capacity depends on the resources in the environment. Okay, so here you can see this is a graph between population density and time. Here you can see in the logistic growth curve, which is graph B, K is the carrying capacity. Logistic growth curve is attained when the resources are limited. Here you get the S-shaped curve. Okay. Now, what happens when the population reaches its carrying capacity? At this point, the number of births is balanced by the number of deaths. So the population stops growing. In contrast with the minimum population size, which is a different concept often referred to as the minimum viable population. Now, next question, in equation dn by dt is equal to Rn. R represents what? For the option number A, carrying capacity, option number B, population density, C is intrinsic growth rate, and option number D is the death rate. What will be the correct answer? Let's have a look at the answer. Option number C, intrinsic growth rate, is the correct answer. Now, in the exponential growth equation, dn by dt is equal to R, and here R stands for the intrinsic rate of natural increase or the maximum per capita growth rate of the population. Now, this rate, okay, so this is the rate at which population would grow under ideal condition. With what are ideal conditions? Unlimited resources, and there are no limiting factors. Okay, here the population can grow maximally because conditions are ideal. Clear? So this image is showing you a graph between population density and time, and you can see this A graph. This is a J-shaped curve which is achieved in the exponential growth, and the equation is also written. Equation for the exponential growth is dn by dt is equal to Rn. So you get the exponential growth when the resources are unlimited. Okay, now let's focus on the R. What does R actually represent? So R is a constant value for a given species, and you can think of it as the difference between how many individuals are born and how many die in a certain time period. So how you can calculate R? R is the birth rate minus the death rate. Now this model, okay, this exponential growth model represents a J-shaped curve. So you will get a J-shaped curve when you plot population density over time. And this shows population size increases at a continuously accelerating rate, means there is a rapid increase in the population size. Okay. Next one, resource partitioning helps in. So the options are increasing competition, reducing competition, eliminating weaker species, and option number D is increasing predation. What is the correct answer? Option number B, reducing competition, is the correct answer. Now, resource partitioning is an evolutionary adaptation where species divide a limited resource or niche to minimize overlap and competition. So it is an evolutionary strategy where different species divide up resources or their living space so that they don't compete directly. So resource partitioning allows multiple species to live in the same habitat without outcompeting each other. So they do this by using resources in different ways. Okay, so they can, you can say, the feeding time can be different, foraging time can be different. Clear? So they are using resources in different ways at different times or in different places. For example, some birds might feed in the morning while others feeds in the afternoon. Okay, so examples include species feeding on different parts of a plant, hunting at different times of the day, or occupying different microhabitats. Now, this process is important because it prevents what's called competitive exclusion. Okay, so with the help of resource partitioning, the two species they can survive in a same habitat. They can survive in same area. Okay, because they are not competing with each other. Okay, clear? So without resource partitioning, the strongest competitor would drive other species out of that area. Okay. Ultimately, resource partitioning promotes species coexistence and help maintain biodiversity within an ecosystem. Next question, which ecological interaction shows minus and zero relationship? So minus is for the negative effect, zero is for the neutral effect. So options are commensalism, amensalism, parasitism and competition. What will be the correct answer? Okay, option number B, amensalism is the correct answer. Okay, so what is amensalism? It is an ecological interaction where one species is negatively affected while the other is unaffected. Okay, so here negative sign is given for the harmful interaction when the one species is harmed, and zero is for the unaffected species. Okay, what is antibiosis? A common example is antibiosis, where one organism releases a chemical that harms or kills the other organism. Okay, now the fungus penicillium, which produces penicillin, this is a classical example of this amensalism. So this chemical kills bacteria around it, but the fungus itself isn't directly affected by the bacteria. Okay, here you can see image showing you competition and antibiosis. Okay, this is showing you amensalism. Okay, penicillium, this is a fungus. This is releasing an antibiotic known as penicillin. Okay, this is clear. Again, there is one image showing you competition. Okay, clear. So in competition, what is happening? Both the interacting partners, they are negatively affected. Okay, because they are competing for the same resources. Both the interacting partners are negatively affected. Okay, this is clear. So with this, we end this session. I hope this session was quite knowledgeable for you. We'll meet you in the next session. Thank you very much for listening.